Hello friends, from this video we'll start our first phase of API development. It means API development without using any authentication. Back to slide. So in this video, simply we'll discuss all about development plans that will follow inside this first phase of API development. So here we'll install a Laravel setup. Inside that setup we'll create our first migration, and by the help of that migration we'll create an employees table. Inside that employees table, we'll have the columns as ID, name, email, phone number, age, and gender. So by the help of employees table, we'll create our CRUD-based APIs. It means if we are talking about the APIs that we'll create inside this first phase of API development, so that will be add employee API, list employee API, single employee details API, update employee API, and finally we'll have delete employee API. So by the help of these APIs list, we'll understand all CRUD-based system. It means we'll see the operations of insert, update, delete, and select. So in this add employee API, we'll use post request method with form data. Inside this list employee, we'll use the concept of list means get method. By the help of this get request, we'll get all the data what will have the employees inside this employees table. Now we'll see the concept of single employee details API. It means we'll get all about a single specific employee's data by the help of employee ID, and this API also will hit using get request type. Into the API URL, you will pass all about employee ID. Then we'll see the concept of update employee API. In this API we'll call using put request type, and along with put request type we'll pass form data. That form data will contain the updated employee information, and also while calling this update employee API we'll pass the employee ID into URL. And finally we'll have the last API of this first phase of development, and that is delete employee. So while calling this API we'll hit using delete request type, and we'll pass employee ID into URL. So this is the complete development plan what will follow inside this first phase of API development, where we are not going to use any authentication. So let's start all about setup installation. So to install, I will go inside Laravel official website, click on documentation. I will prefer Composer installation. So here I will search for Composer. Now here we can see that here we have a command available. So I will copy, go here, let's open a new tab. So this is all about the command. Now let's change all about the setup name. So I will call it as Laravel API, or let's say API with no auth. So let's copy all about this command back to project terminal. So we are inside tutorials folder. If I type ls, so we can see that this is the setup what we had created while learning Laravel basics concept. Now we'll create another setup for first phase of API development. So I will type the same command, press enter. It will take some time to install this setup into our local system. So successfully, as we can see that now setup has been installed. Back to folder structure. So here we can see that this is the another setup what we had installed. Now let's open into our VS Code editor. You can choose your own favorite editor. So I will go right click, open with other application, click on select button. So successfully I have imported that setup into my VS Code. Back to project terminal. Let's clear this console first. ls cd Laravel API. I need to go inside that setup. Next I will type PHP Artisan. I will start development server to execute that application into browser. So I will use PHP Artisan serve command, pressing enter. Now as you can see that our development server started at 8000 port. So I will go right click, open link, and successfully as we can see the landing page of application. Now next I will connect this application with database. So first I need to create that. So I will go inside phpMyAdmin, click on databases. Here let's say Laravel phase1 underscore APIs. If I copy the database name, press enter, database created, back to editor. So I will go inside .env file. Inside this environment variable files needs to go inside this DB connection, host, port, database, username and password. By putting our database connection string values inside these variables, successfully we are able to connect with the database. So here in this database, this is our database name. We are using localhost, so this IP is okay. In case of username, this is okay for my system. In your case, it will be different. So password admin @123. So successfully bypassing all these database connection string values, now this application is connected with this database. So if I go and reload, now we can see our default landing page. Now in the next video, we'll start all about the creation of API controller, API model and API routes. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.